Okay, hello everybody. I hope everybody's here. You need to restart the video in order to see the next video. I wasn't able to transfer my video during this session. I have to figure out, I guess, with Facebook how to do that. So this is what we're going to discuss today, okay? We're actually going to draw this. So the way the pyramid works is that it actually looks like, that's right, a pyramid, a triangle. This is a triangle we're going to discuss. Now, remember, the triangle is a symbol of growth, a symbol of activity in Neurographica, and that's actually quite representative of what we're talking about here in the pyramid. So the pyramid starts on the very top, okay? So basically there will be, let's start here. The pyramid starts with the very top. What's on the very top? The top of the pyramid is the mind. What is the mind? So basically we have three major sections in the pyramid. And each section, the top section has two subsections. The middle section has more like three subsections. And the bottom section has two subsections, okay? So the top part of the pyramid is called the consciousness, right? Consciousness. Consciousness is exactly who we are, where we are. We're talking to each other. I'm consciously aware that there are some people here on Facebook watching me. So some people are not watching me. That's in my mind. This is my mind. The mind is what we're talking about. Okay? This is an active way to interact with your surrounding. Okay? Active consciousness is the way to interact with your surrounding. In the second part of the consciousness, right, this is called the active consciousness. Okay? And the next part is called operational consciousness. Let me get a thinner marker. I'm thinking that would be much better to write with. Operational consciousness. What is operational consciousness? If mind is what we're thinking, the way we understand the world, operational consciousness refers to dealing with the world through our body. What does that involve? The very famous 5 senses, okay? As an educator, I have over 20 years of experience working as an educator with children of various ages, starting with, honestly, as little as 2 months, 1 month old, to as old as high school. So within the early childhood, those of you who know a lot about the early childhood or deal with the early childhood or even deal with children or even adults, honestly, we know that the way we interact with the world is through 5 senses. The 5 senses are the way for anyone to understand how the world works, and that refers to the operational, right? How the world operates, what activities, how do we feel the world, right? And the 5 senses, of course, is touching, is smelling, the tasting, the hearing, and the seeing, right? 5 senses. Through these 5 senses is how we understand the way the world works. And when I mentioned the early childhood is that those people who work with children, they know that these 5 senses are extremely important with children in the childhood, because we work on developing this specific 5 senses. That's why it's so important for children to have a different variety of experiences, a different varieties of understanding. That's why babies have those little toys, with different like texture of material on different sides, like a bunny or a bear. That's an important part, because through touching and feeling the material, that's how the brain develops, okay? So those two, of course, are connected. The mind is connected to the operational. The development of the brain depends on the interaction of the body and the interaction of the 5 senses, and the mind develops, and then they work together. The more the mind develops, the more the body is curious and interested in exploring further. Okay, so that was active consciousness, and then we have operational consciousness. Now, what happens here is that we're going to go further. We're going to go into a different realm. I'm looking for my gold marker. I can't locate it. Okay. The next step is the subconscious. What is the subconscious? The subconscious is the way where we can sometimes retrieve some information that is buried, kind of hidden, really deep within our conscious, but it's in a different level. And it can happen through the use of certain, techniques or methods, right? If we start doing like hypnosis, some people can get into their subconscious. Doing like Neurographica also helps you go into subconscious, because we discuss what's happening with us during drawing Neurographica, right? Coaching techniques, psychological techniques, right? Doing various psychotherapy sessions might help you get into your subconscious. Now, what is subconscious according to the pyramid? Subconscious consists of two parts, okay? Two major parts. One is individual subconscious. Individual subconscious. And what is individual subconscious? Individual subconscious is trying to understand, where am I now? Not now as if I'm sitting on the chair and talking into the camera, but where am I now in the big realm of things? Where am I now in my life? Individual subconscious is also, who am I as a whole, right? Again, individual subconscious is, the examples would be doing meditation, doing some kind of integrative, spiritual techniques. Praying is an individual subconscious way of connecting to your individual subconscious. It's understanding what is your life soul experience. It's understanding that life goes beyond what we see. Life goes beyond this consciousness. We go into the subconscious. It's understanding that seeing something doesn't necessarily mean that things are the way they are. Seeing a certain it's not having a certain experience doesn't mean that this experience alone shapes who you are, but rather understanding that there's a greater realm of things where you are connected to your subconscious. You're connected to a greater part of who you are. You're connected to your soul. And that's how we come. The next step would be the collective subconscious. What is collective subconscious? Collective subconscious has two parts to it. Collective subconscious has egregors. And what are egregors? Egregors are societal norms on a greater realm, or exactly how it works in the society, right? If I live in the state of New York, then I am bound by the laws of New York. If I live in the United States, I'm bound by the laws of the United States. Those are egregors. My community is an egregor. My city is an egregor. My state is an egregor. The country can be an egregor. And egregors can also be a religion. A religion is an egregor. It's setting certain societal norms within a certain set of groups, okay? Since anthropologically speaking, people would gather in groups going beyond this individual subconscious, right? At a certain point, people started to understand that they need groups to feel safe, to feel more reliable, and also to feel more understandable and more interested in what life offers. So that's called egregors. Egregors are societal norms built by groups, okay? Various groups are egregors. Like I mentioned, religion is an egregor. Certain beliefs, belonging to any group of people, like if we're talking even about Facebook, belonging to a group in Facebook is kind of being in the egregor of that group. That's egregors. Then next we have our myth and archetypes. So myths and archetypes are also part of the collective subconscious. So we have egregors, which are a way for a person to belong to the society. This is when a person decided to join the society and form some groups. So as a group, the society feels more protective, and they protect both individuals, and the individuals help protect the society. When we come to myth and archetypes, we're talking about the more mystical type of collective subconscious. We're talking about the way to understand the way the society works through various mystical understanding, like fairy tales, right? The way children are taught about societal norms. You can't tell children, no stealing, no killing, because the children, they're a more softer nature. So in order for them to be able to relate to them the important information about how the world works, the fairy tales were invented, where through various characters, it is revealed to the children, to the people, how we are supposed to behave, right? Taking a very simple story, the fairy tale of Little Red Riding Hood, where she meets a wolf. Why wolf? Because wolf is an archetype of something, something scary, of a fear, of something dangerous, right? Wolves are not friendly creatures, if we go according to the way wolves are described in nature, right? But rather, wolves are dangerous creatures. So that's something to pay attention to. You know, uh, so through the use of a wolf as an archetype, that's called an archetype, the information is relayed that wolves can be dangerous. Wolves are also strangers. You don't talk to strangers. So there are a lot of different archetypes. So fairy tales are types of myth and through which archetypes are related. What else? We have various, let's say, the way to understand the world would be various stories and prototypes. The Carl Jung, one of the fathers of psychology, he created a lot of archetypes that can be understandable, like a hero is an archetype, right? A warrior is an archetype. When we say the word hero, certain types of associations come to our mind. And that's something to pay attention to when you do a session, right? Since we are discussing this, is it related to the specialist course? Is it related to leading a client? Using certain words or certain images even, right? For example, using certain metaphoric associative cards can bring certain images to a person. And that's called archetyping, right? If I show you a picture of an elephant, different people can have different association with that picture. And talking about association will bring to the way that person understands the archetype of an elephant. And that's connected to the collective subconscious. Because the way we understand about, let's say, the elephant is the way we are taught about who elephant is and how elephant, whether it's harmful to humans or not. And that's how each person brings in the information and stores within their subconscious. Okay. So we have gone deep into the subconscious, and now we're going into a deeper plane, the deeper realm called unconscious. Unconsciousness, right? What is unconsciousness? Unconsciousness has very specific elements to them. It's called the self, as we have mentioned Carl Jung. The self it's spelled with a capital S. It's that deeper part of who you are on the inside that governs what you do on the outside. The self is a way to reach the absolute, the ultimate drive. Drive. What is a drive? A drive is a part where you reach it and you start having insight into who you are. Who are you? You start having understanding why you do certain things, why you meet certain people, why you are surrounded by certain friends, or why do you even have certain children and, family members? Why did you come to this parents? It's having that deeper understanding of self. Self is that ultimate you, the deeper part of your soul that knows why you came to this earth, what are you doing here, and how you can contribute to the outside world to do more, to develop more, and reaching even further part of that deeper self. So when we get to this point over here, we reach the elements. What are the elements? The elements refers to the using, philosophy, which describes 5 elements as we know it. Okay, the 5 elements are connected to each other, and they are the wood or the earth, they are fire, sun or air, metal, and water. We actually discussed this element in depth during the neurocolor algorithm of Neurographica, where we discussed the color, because each element is associated with a color. The wood and the earth is associated with green, right? The color of the grass that grows from the earth. The fire is associated with red, the color of passion, the color of energy. The sun or air is associated with yellow, right? This color of natural source, the color of natural energy. Fire is the energy that's created by creating, let's say, fire. The sun is a natural energy. We don't have to do anything. We wake up every morning and there's a sun, whether you live, even if you live in Alaska, you have the sun. You do have the energy of the sun to help you, that energy that gives the necessary warmth to you. The next the metal is gray, or could be gold, it could be silver, and it's what forms, it's that stability in the constancy that a person can get. And water is blue. Water gives life to all the living things in the world. We know that nothing in nature can live without water. And that's what water is. Water is blue in color. And the elements support each other, right? The elements are at the forefront of the way the universe works. So this unconscious is the ability, is the knowledge of how the universe works. And 5 elements are one of the ways to understand how the universe works. That's very important to understand, that this is on the very deep knowledge. And once you reach the 5 elements, once you reach the way the 5 elements, the point about 5 elements is harmony, is connection of different parts of a person, a different part of who you are, whether it's socially talking, or we're talking physiologically, or we're talking psychologically of who you are on the inside. Connection. That's why I said they're all connected with each other, connection to each other. And as a result, you bring harmony, and harmony brings drive. Drive, insights, understanding. The understanding will help you be more aware of who you are. Awareness is one of the most important practices that we use within Neurographica. Learning how to be aware. Whenever we draw in Neurographica, when we go, and I will show you now how all of this is related to Neurographica, is that every time we go in Neurographica through various stages, through various parts of drawing, we talk about being aware who you are on the body level. What does the body feel? On the emotional level, how do you feel? What emotion are you undergoing now? And your thoughts. What are your thoughts now? And then we use all the 3 of them. We kind of become aware of them, and by becoming aware of it, we kind of focus it. We bring it to our forefront. We focus on it, and we kind of transform them. Transformation is an important word here too. So how does this relate to Neurographica? In Neurographica, and this is what we learned in the basics course, in Neurographica, there are 7 steps that we undergo, okay? It's called the 7 steps of algorithm. What do the 7 steps represent? The 7 steps are, first you write the topic. First, you discuss why did you come? Why did you decide to draw Neurographic? What is your topic? What is your goal? I call it a quest. What is your quest? What are you trying to find? After you make that goal, and there is a whole process how we do the goal, we go to step number 2 and we start drawing. We start the drawing, we start the procedure of Neurographica. Okay, that's called a composition. Okay, composition may mean different things when it comes to um, different algorithms, right? Let's say in the neurocolor, right, where we discuss the various elements, the composition would be putting down which element you are talking about your goal and putting down the elements. When we talk about the very first algorithm, the basic algorithm, which is the algorithm for removing limitations, we do the composition involves releasing of tension, right? When we releasing of inner limitations. And various composition have various starts, but they all go by composition. We start the drawing process. We start the transformational process, and that's operational. That's using the 5 senses. We see what we draw. We talk about, what we're undergoing. We hear. When we draw, we hear. We actually, there is a way to, like, when you actually draw, when you do the release, you hear the sound of the marker on the paper. The smelling is actually very interesting, because for my kids, personally, I buy markers that have a smell to it. The kids love them. They're very sensoric. So that's something to try if you want to involve the smelling. With adults, I use essential oils to bring out the sense of smell, to bring out the sense of smell into the transformational part of what Neurographica is. And of course, we draw. Our fingers has the nerve endings. All the nerve endings are on the foretip of the fingers, okay? Just so you understand. That's why for kids, it's so important when they do all those fine motor skills development, Play-Doh, playing with anything that has to do with fingers, sand, different textures, putting beads, beading. All of this is so important because it directly related to the development of the mind, okay? The third step in the neurographic, okay, so when we discuss the topic and the composition, we do it consciously. Now, if we start going into the subconscious, it's the next step is rounding. If you start explaining what rounding is, it doesn't sound, you're like, rounding? What is rounding? It's not something you consciously understand. But once I start explaining why we do the rounding, which I do during the basic course, and how to do the rounding, I start having people who start saying, oh, that's so interesting. Because you start going into the subconscious and you start understanding how it relates to the way your conscious works, okay? How it relates to the way the transformation works. And then that's step number 3. Step number 4 has 2 parts, and that's where we come to 4.1 and 4.2. Okay, step number 4 is step 4 is actually integration, and it happens in the first part as a figure and background, right? When we start adding the neural lines, and that's how we start adding the neural lines, is when you take that little piece of composition or that little piece of drawing that you created, and when you add neural lines, you start connecting it to the society at whole. And that's where egregors come, right? Being a part of the society. The human being by nature is not like a person who can live by himself. And I'm telling that as an introvert, I'm telling you that though I enjoy greatly being by myself and figuring things out, I do have a part where I need to be a part of the group, and it's important. Why? Remember what we talked about it, who you are, bringing what you know, ability, the knowledge of the universe, bringing who you are, yourself, your absolute self, to the outside. It's done through communication. It's done through socialization, right? So this part is communicating with society, building the society around you. We have an algorithm called neurocommunication. And this part in that neurocommunication is big, because when we draw the neural lines, we think about the society, the group, the surrounding we would like to be within. 4.2 is archetyping. And what is archetyping? We discussed it, remember? Archetyping involves coloring. We start the color process. The coloring, when a person starts coloring, the color and that has a lot to do with the elements when I mentioned the color. The color is the way a person emotionally relates to something. When I ask a person, what is your favorite color? The person starts telling me, let's say, purple. And I say, why purple? The person starts associating, emotional association with the color of purple. Why purple? And they may remember the childhood, how it was related to them in the childhood, how it was related maybe in some kind of adult life experience. But absolutely, archetyping and coloring is an emotional relation to who a person is. And it's going inside the myth, inside the archetypes, and understanding how do we relate to something, adding color. The fifth step is the field lines, okay? And that's where we enter the unconscious, right? The unconscious on the bottom. The unconscious is really, it's extremely hard to have any access to our unconscious. I don't know, I maybe here, maybe somebody who's extremely talented in doing hypnosis can get you into your unconscious, but don't rely on it. The maximum they can get you is within a very deep part of your subconscious, working with archetypes within your mind. It's very hard to get into the unconscious. The way that people can get to their unconscious is through meditation, prayer, sometimes secluding, right? The famous meditational practice of Vipassana, right? Where a person secludes themselves. There's a certain way to think, to communicate with the creator, right? To communicate with who you are, with your soul. And you have to know how to do this. But the reason why some people, and I'm talking about some really wise people, some sages who are really wise, some people who are very keen in practicing the meditational and doing it the right way, being able to not just go into the meditation, and that's the important part. We all have an ability to sit down and meditate and do Vipassana. It's a little hard to start. Once you learn to do it, you can do it. The important part is once you went into that unconscious and discovered who you are, is the ability to come on out and bring it to the outside. And that's what we do in Neurographica. We'll go to the very depths. We do the field lines, which is very hard to understand. This is a mystical part of drawing Neurographica. And then we do graphical affixing. It's understanding what shapes does your drawing need based on solely on intuition. Sometimes we bring operational to it, and that's where we tie in the unconscious into the operational, and there's operational consciousness. And that's the important thing to learn. It's not just the ability of doing the meditation. I remember doing Vipassana, and I want to tell you the hardest thing after that is actually coming back to the reality, coming back to the real world, and being able to bring what I understood about who I am, what my abilities are, about why am I in this world, and why things happen a certain way with me, being able to bring it into my reality and dealing with it. Because a lot of people, if you ask them after they do the meditation or the seclusion part, they have a hard time coming back to the reality. They have a hard time coming back to the group of people, and even harder time to coming back and learning how to interact with the group in a way where your best way of bringing something to this world would be realized the best. But that's what we do in Neurographica. That's why we draw at the end. We have graphical affixing, right? At the end, we add necessary elements. By elements, I mean the three shapes, what are the major parts of the Neurographica, which is a circle, a square, a triangle, and of course the neuroline. We use all of these elements to bring who we are, what we discovered about who we are, back into the reality, and figuring out. And that's the last step, right? If step number 6 was graphical affixing, step number 7 is topic 2.0. What does it mean? That means after we undergo the whole transformational part in Neurographica, we come back and we look at our topic and we start thinking, is that my real topic? And you start realizing that during this transformational part, your topic may have changed. You may either change your topic completely, you realize that you actually have a different goal, or you may change a part of of what you wanted to do. But one way or another, you start having a different, you have to start having awareness, a different awareness of where you are, what you want in life, and how you can achieve that in life. And that's the part that Neurographica plays with conjunction with the pyramid of consciousness. When a person takes the basics course, it's 8 hours of knowledge. It's 8 hours of knowing. This is a picture I made during the basics course where we actually simultaneously drew the picture in Neurographica and I explained each step. Because of time constraint, I wasn't able to do that here, but I do invite you to the basics course. We have at least 8 hours of knowledge. And I must tell you that the Neurographic, the pyramid of consciousness is such a thorough topic that it's so hard to fit in within 8 hours, but it's so necessary. So for the specialist course, this topic, the pyramid of consciousness, is a must. And actually what we're planning to do is by teaching, within the teaching of all the algorithms, we will be discussing the pyramid of consciousness and how it relates to each step of the algorithm. Why? So that the more aware you are, the more practice you have with connecting those two together, the more you will be able to understand, the more you will be able to have that word awareness of how your body works, your mind works, your emotions work, and how you work as a human as a whole in relation to the universe. Okay, that's our goal, right? That's our goal as a human being. That's our goal as a professional. When we work with a client, that's important to understand. So when a client starts drawing, when a client starts, you will notice at a certain time during the rounding process, the client is going to say, I don't want to do this. I'm not sure we need to do this. I don't think we should be doing this. Or the client starts saying, or if the clients start having issues during the figure and background and saying, I don't want to add the neural lines, I want my picture to be alone. That's where you have this inside, as a professional within your client, you start understanding which part does your client need more help with, which part should you focus on more, which part should you give more support, more necessary coaching, asking more questions, bringing more realization and awareness to your client so that your client can transform that step and go further. Okay. Some people have difficulty with the field lines, right? They don't understand. They don't know how to do the field lines. Some people have difficulty understanding the graphical affixing. They don't understand what the shapes are and how to bring out the shapes in the correct way, right? For example, I brought out the shapes in a graphical way, and the shapes need more coloring, needs connection with the color as well. And that's what we'll learn more in depth during the specialist course. The coloring itself we'll learn during the neurocolor. The composition of what shapes you need to add and why we'll learn during the neurocomposition algorithm. There are different algorithms that gives you insight and knowledge into different aspects of Neurographica. But what the specialist does, and that's the beauty of it, is giving you insight about how Neurographica works for the specialist, how you can use Neurographica, not just for yourself, for your family, for your kids, for your friend, how you can use it within the professional field, how you can use it with a client. And that's the beauty of it. I am inviting you. I am starting the next, if you have your basics, that's a requirement to start a specialist course. The requirement is to have a basics. If you need a basic, let us know. Even though we had a session, we just finished the live course last week, we have all the recordings necessary in a group, which you have you get into once you sign up for the basics course. And we have recordings, and you can always attend the next live session, which would be in 2 months. We have live sessions in basics every 2 months for your, so you guys are comfortable, so you are able to understand how the basics works. And once actually you sign up for the basics course with us, you are a part of that group for life. We have sessions, like I said, live courses, live sessions every 2 months, and you can participate in those live sessions as many times as you need. And it's important because every time there are new insights. I got my instructor school. I underwent the instructor course in 2018, and I want to tell you, I still watch the course that Pavel teaches now. because every time he teaches, there's new insights. And he talks about himself. He says every time he teaches it, he has new insights. And that's the beauty of Neurographica. Every time you draw, you're going to have new insight. The same, even if it's the same topic, even if it's the same algorithm, you're going to learn something new. You're going to discover something new. And that's the beauty. Once you have your basics, you're welcome to join me. A, whether you want to become a specialist for your professional reasons, or B, you just want to get the knowledge of professional, of what specialist is. I'm going to describe to you what a specialist is. Specialist involves, actually, I have people asking me, so specialist involves 4 major algorithms. Maybe I'll write with a thicker mark. I think it's better. And 2 additional complementary algorithms, okay? Okay, algorithms. So one of the most famous algorithm from the specialist that we will be discussing in details, the philosophy behind it, why are we doing it, what to pay attention when your client draws this, is the neuro tree. One of the most beautiful, and I will tell you, one of my personal favorites, the neuro tree. The neuro tree is extremely philosophical. It's very deep. It's very understanding. I will be discussing what happens when a person's dreams, the psychological reasons, the mental reasons, the emotional reasons of drawing the tree, the archetypes behind the tree. Why do we need to draw the tree? And it's absolutely amazing. I really do invite you to join this just for the neuro tree alone. It's totally worth it. Neuro tree, the next algorithm we will be drawing will be the true. Right? That's actually a classical coaching model as it relates, and we will be using Neurographica within that true model. Okay, I will teach how to use a Neurographica while you are undergoing the true, okay, which stands for topic, resource, uncover, and equalizer. Okay, the next topic we have is the score. That's also a very famous coaching technique, right? And again, I will be showing how you can use the drawing, the Neurographica, within that technique to help your client to get to new realms of understanding and realization of getting to their goal. And the 4th algorithm is called the stratus. Stratus are social understanding, social kind of like popular characters, so to say, popular qualities. And using the social dynamics, we're going to be, of course, integrating Neurographica and social dynamics to help the client get to where they are, to help the client shape which part of their life they need more help with. Again, this is a coaching technique. Now, the complementary algorithms are called Shamanic Rain. I call it just Rain. Rain has a very big, philosophical and spiritual meaning to it. For some people, coming from a religious background, saying the word shamanic may not necessarily work for them. So you can just say rain. I call this algorithm rain. Rain is an amazing technique to use. It talks more about how do you use the techniques, understanding the philosophy and spirituality behind rain, which is water coming down from the heaven to the bottom, to the earth, and helping grow everything from the earth. We learn how to use this technique to start growing your goals, your potentials, and getting resources for it. Okay, it's an amazing technique. And the 6th complementary algorithm is called Neuro Lotus. Again, lotus is like a sacred flower. Is being able how to use the understanding, the spirituality, the philosophy behind the flower of lotus, the fact that it has certain way it shapes and the certain way it opens up is using the symbol of a flower to help a person understand how to reach their goal, their topic. How to reach the goal, the topic. How do you approach this topic in a way that relates to the way that the flower works, to the way the nature works, to the way something grows? And we're specifically talking about the way the flowers grows, and the lotus has a specific understanding, but I personally like to use rose, the understanding of how the rose works also, right? Layers, being able to understand the layers connection. So, but once you do the neuro lotus, it's really the way any flower works. It's a way to understand how we can use it within the clientele, how to use it with a client to help a client reach certain goals in a certain way, because there are different subcategories. So that's a specialist course, and you're welcome to join us. There's still time to sign up. Please PM me if you have any questions, if you want to get a link, how to sign up. You're welcome to reach me. I will be very happy to connect with you and give you all the necessary information. And welcome to the world of Neurographica and to the world of pyramid of pyramid of consciousness. Wishing you a wonderful day ahead, and wishing you a beautiful learning and drawing experience. Bye-bye.